And so we always live in a toxic world. And I tell people, when you find that place on the planet where you are where you are void of toxicities, then you don't have to do detox anymore. You can just let your body do its own thing.
Good morning, good day, wherever you guys are tuning in from. The Dr. Chapa Wellness Show is in launch. We love coming into people's homes every week and sharing a message of hope and healing through food, one bite at a time. You are in charge. It's your life, it's your health, and it's your choice. And well, I love where God has taken me because I have another opportunity to be with somebody that I value as a hero and a friend in the wellness fight. This lady has a laundry list of accolades, and she has done things for the wellness culture through COVID and beyond. Prior to that, I've been following her for over 20 years and watching, and I think maybe why one of my stances on why I chose to take my family's health care seriously early on is because of the teaching that Dr. Sherry Tenpenny has brought to the forefront in how or not to vaccinate and why we should choose healthcare in a different way. And I've got an opportunity to meet her a few weeks ago, and I was like, Sherry, let me twist your arm. I want you to come on my show. And she goes, you don't have to twist my arm. My heart is to share a message with people to let them see the truth and feel the truth and experience the truth at a new level. So, Dr. Sherry, how are you today? I'm so excited to have you on the Dr. Trop Wellness Show.
I'm good. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, absolutely. That part was the easy part. You saying yes was what I was like worried, and here you were just like, no, the red carpet. Let's get this going because people need to know. And one of the things I wanted just to kind of talk to my audience about is like it is your life, it is your health, it is your choice in and around healthcare. And I was doing a couple stat searches just on obesity alone. 74% of Americans are overweight, 50% of children are overweight. 77% can't serve in the military today. In the old historical, databases, having a person that was, I'm going to use this word, and it is what it is, fat, was a sideshow spectacle at circuses. 120 years ago, no one was overweight. What has happened, do you think, to our culture that we have seen diabetes on the rise? 30% of teens have diabetes. What's going on in our culture today that people have just, I don't, have they just are they living under a rock? Have they taken their hands off the wheel? What's going on that they are not even clued in that they have a choice to make healthcare a priority?
I think that a lot of the problems with our food is that we have gotten addicted to fast food. You know, when McDonald's came out, like in the 1950s, the convenience factor is just amazing. I mean, when you walk through the store, a regular grocery store, and I go to a rather I can't say it's a high-end grocery store, but they do have more holistic and natural things and, organic and non-GMO and things like that. Even them, when you walk down the aisles and you look at everything that comes in a box, a can, in a bag, that it's just processed chemicals. And when you look at the ingredient list and you see all those chemicals in there, the thing is that so many of the food additives, food colorings, they were given by the FDA back in the 1930s a designation called GRAS, GRAS, which stands for Generally Recommended as Safe, and and for the most part, an individual ingredient, an individual additive, or an individual color that they have tested on mice, or if they've tested it, whatever, it is safe. And one little color or one little additive. But the thing that they've never done is the cumulative effect of like 7 or 8 different ingredients of additives and high fructose corn syrup and colorants and that in one product. And if you ate that, let's say that product was a power energy bar, and you got up every day and you ate that as part of your breakfast, or you went to the gym and you ate that same power bar, there is no studies that have done the cumulative effects over time of what happens when you're continuing to take chemicals into your body instead of eating what God gives us as natural holistic food. And so All of those things mess up our metabolism. They mess up the chemistry of our cells, how we metabolize regular real blood sugar, and how do we get rid of that stuff in our body? And so one of the things that happens is as you eat all of this high fructose corn syrup, it gets stored and creates visceral fat and body fat, which then stores up all the chemicals. And so people become more obese and more obese and more obese. And one of the things that we've talked about a lot over the years is that in order for people to lose weight, if they really make a determined effort, I'm going to get rid of all this junk in my cupboard that has high fructose corn syrup in it or seed oils in it, like canola and all, soy oil and all those things. I'm going to get rid of all of that stuff. They really, and let's say they're like 100 pounds overweight, it's really difficult, if not almost impossible for them to lose weight until they detox their body and their system first.
Oh, well, so
Because
that brings me to a question. That brings me
well,
to a
let me finish my thought.
yeah, yeah.
So as the fat cells begin to constrict, all of those chemicals that are stored up in the fat get released out into the body, and they're really poisonous. So the body conserves you and protects you from being poisoned by holding on to the fat and holding on to those chemicals.
So I had a veterinarian in my office a few weeks ago, and her question to me was, "Why do I need to detox? My liver's fine. My liver enzymes are fine. My kidneys, I'm not in dialysis. And why isn't my body able to detox those poisons accordingly? What is detox from a perspective of if the body needs this extra help?"
Well, for one thing, to say my liver enzymes are normal, therefore my liver is normal is a misnomer. It's not even the truth. I mean, your liver enzymes only become elevated when your liver can no longer accommodate and becomes so sick that it starts leaking out its own enzymes. So by the time you see elevated liver enzymes, your liver has been sick for
For
a
a
long time,
long time.
acutely sick, like really acutely sick. So to say, well, my liver enzymes are normal, so my liver's functioning appropriately is not true. It's the same can be said a little bit for kidneys, but parameter measurements are much more exact, like creatinine and BUN. They really do tell you how well your kidneys are functioning. But the idea is that we live in a toxic soup world. When people say to me, why do I have to detox? I eat organic. I only drink purified water. I
Yeah,
don't smoke. I don't drink alcohol.
I hear all
But
this.
you breathe, you live, you're surrounded, shampoos and conditioners and soaps and toothpaste, and you go out to dinner and you can't always eat pristinely when you go out to dinner or when you travel, which is really hard to try to eat well when you're in an airport or an airplane. And so we always live in a toxic world. And I tell people when you find that place on the planet where you are void of toxicities, then you don't have to do detox anymore, you can just let your body do its own thing.
Well, I think they
But
would call that the Garden of Eden.
probably so, because I can't I'll tell you a really quick story, a really short story. Years ago, when I started my practice here in Cleveland, I had contracted a gentleman who lived in, Grand Junction, Colorado, to help me with the marketing and the branding and all that sort of stuff, and he told me that he and a business partner had wanted to create the pristinely perfect baby food. They spent tens of thousands of dollars, probably even more than that. And take granted, this was 1994, 1996. So this was 30 years ago. And they went all over the world and did soil samples in where they thought were pristine areas that didn't have a lot of industry, didn't have a lot of, ground runoff and all that stuff. They spent like 3 or 4 years doing ground soil samples all over the world, and they ended up trashing the project. They just crashed the project because they could not find anywhere in the world where the soil was not extremely contaminated, so they couldn't grow healthy, non-contaminated
Hmm.
vegetables to be in their baby food
And
line.
that
So
was 30 years ago.
that was 30 years ago. And there are billions of tons of chemicals that are released into our world, into our water supply, in the air, all these things every single year.
So what
I
is
mean,
like, put it into perspective, like, because there's 2 billions of tons of
Billions
chemicals.
of
Like, I don't
chemicals.
think people have a clue what that means. They're like, "Come on, Doctor Tenpenny, no way. That's a little embellishment, isn't it?" You know?
Well, it's
Like,
really not.
eh
I did a research project. This was actually 20 years ago on because I wrote a book called Fowl. The bird flu, it's not what you think. I wrote that in 2005 and I wrote it in real time. And the premise of the book was that these bird flu viruses, H5N1, when they got exposed to dioxin or environmental chemicals, but specifically dioxin, it made them more than 100 times more virulent than if they were just found in nature. And that these viruses, this whole outbreak of H5N1 bird flu started in Vietnam and then went to China. And so I started looking at the toxicities, all of the concentrated areas of where these viruses became the most aggressive. I found a map that absolutely overlaid. It was the map of the outbreaks of the H5N1 and the map of the heaviest spraying of dioxin and Agent Orange during the Vietnam War, and
wow.
there was an exact overlap, and then I started looking at how much chemicals were in the Yellow River and the Yangtze River in China, and at that time, it was billions of tons of chemicals that were dumped into those rivers 30 years ago. No, 20 years ago.
And do people, I mean, obviously that was a war, but if you go back to just the statement when you opened up that they did these tests on like one chemical or one dye, but why wouldn't it just be mindset to do a cumulative study of if you put 10 or 25, where's that breaking point where the body can't keep up? And now we're talking about billions of tons of toxic soup dumped on us through the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the seed oils, the high fructose corn syrup, all that stuff, all that accumulative garbage that the body just can't handle. Why wouldn't a cumulative study be done? Like, why? It just seems so logical.
Well, two parts to that to answer that. One is you can't find what you're not looking for. So if you really don't wanna know, you don't do any research on it,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
And the second thing is if we can make people obese, have high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, that drives the engine of the medical industrial complex. So if we cleaned up the food, we gave people a tax credit for joining a gym or for buying, gym equipment in their house, or each year when they filed their taxes, if they were within 10% of their ideal body weight, they got a tax credit for that. Ways that we could inspire health. And it always comes down to money, whether it's a large corporation or whether it's individual. So there were ways that we could inspire people to do healthy things, but we don't do that because we don't want them healthy. Or the people who fund these studies, which is primarily the pharmaceutical industry or big ag and big food, they don't want healthy people not eating their garbage.
I mean, it just seems so inhumane. Like we sit here and spread tears over animal shows of little dogs that are being, abused, or little children in, foreign countries, third world countries. But yet here we are in the quote unquote greatest state of America, mistreating us, our regular people.
Well, think about now they want 32 vaccines by 2 years of age. So
Third,
in each one 32 vaccines by 2 years of age. 32 doses of vaccine, not 32 individual vaccines because there aren't that many.
that's
There
right.
are 17 different vaccines, but they want 32 doses of vaccines injected into children by 2 years of age. Because in 2010, Bill Gates, between 2010 and 2020, he declared and put billions of dollars into funding this. It was called the Decade of Vaccines, and that's where they really started ramping up the schedule, clamping down on the ability for kids and adults actually to even get exemptions because they wanted those kids vaccinated. In fact, it's the biggest fight in the pharmaceutical industry, and it's because a fully vaccinated child is the premier commodity of the pharmaceutical industry, because if they can break their health, break their immune system, make them chronically sick by the time they're 2 years of age, they become customers for life.
Oh, I mean, just hearing you say it, like, I mean, I know this stuff. I've seen this stuff. I've literally have followed you for years, but just to hear you say it and to know that there are moms that I talked to this week that just took their kid to get a flu shot, a few months back before they became patients in my office, and I just go, and these are like teenagers that are dealing with bedwetting. These are people that are still suffering with allergies, and I'm just like, how many of these symptoms that they're coming in to see us with, and they'll go see a urologist, they'll go see an allergist, they'll go see a pulmonologist, but yet no one is paying attention to what they are injecting into their skin and wondering, they don't even know. They don't even have a clue that that could be a cause. And to know that somebody, I mean, I've heard, Bill Gates say in little clips back in the day that he was very much after population control, and changing the dynamics of the a number of people on the planet. And where he got that idea, I don't know, but it seems very interesting to know that the decade of vaccines, because I had the Texas vaccine choice in on the show a week or so back, and we were talking about that there's never been a season of time where you're going to get exposed to 9 different strains of a vaccine or of a whatever they're injecting at one time. Like that, you're never going to go out in society and find that wild, effect. And so can you talk a little bit about, that concept of, okay, it's one thing to get exposed to wild polio, but what is the injected polio? What's the difference? And talk to us about the polio, because that's a common thing that people I think can, oh, I've heard of polio, and oh, we eradicated that but we're still vaccinating for that.
Yeah, well, when people are new to this topic, when they know nothing about it, zero. I mean, they haven't even given it a nanosecond of a thought of what might be coming through that needle when they get that flu shot. The first knee-jerk reaction of everybody, it's across the board. And I'm not saying this disparagingly, I'm just saying this as a fact. People go, "Well, what about smallpox? Or what about polio?"
Yeah.
Because they need to know. We actually do courses on that. There's a two-part course on what about smallpox and a two-part course on what about polio in our sister site, in learningforyou.org. If you learning the number 4, YOU.org, so people can go and take a really deep dive. Each one of those, the two-part courses, each one, it's about an hour each, about 45 minutes, by maybe an hour and a half. But polio, you know, you know, we are 50 years out. Actually, that's not true. We are 70 years out from when the polio when polio became a thing. The polio vaccine was released in 1955. So we were almost 70 years out from that. And yet, new parents, the first thing they say is, "What about polio?"
Yeah.
That has been indoctrinated so deeply into our societal DNA, that it takes a lot of fact telling to let them know that there has been no polio in the Western Hemisphere since 1991, and in America has been declared polio free since 1994.
Okay, so
Yet we're
but they
still,
say, is it that because we jabbed everybody?
but why are we still giving kids 5 polio vaccines?
I
To
agree,
vaccinate them against
100%.
something, give them to vaccinate against something that isn't here? That would be like giving kids 5 rabies vaccines
Well, it
when
makes
they're not,
sense. It makes sense.
you know?
But there's this, I think, this idea that that if they keep injecting it, they're going to keep it away.
Well, if it doesn't exist, what are they keeping away?
Well, I agree. And so
Now,
now,
what are they keeping away? There's only something like 6 countries in the world that still have, uh, miscellaneous, maybe up to 20, 30 reported cases of wild polio that they find in stool or in urine, and they're in war-torn areas that have no sanitation. They're places like Northern Pakistan, Afghanistan, places like that, and so it's like, well, what about if they get on an airplane and they come here and they start spreading polio around? So I did a deep dive on that. This was a few years ago now, and over a almost 20-year period of time, there had been maybe 18 cases of polio in people that arrived in this country. Over a 20-year period, that's 1 per year. And yet there are 4 million live births per year in America. And we're giving each one of those children 4 to 5 polio vaccines to vaccinate against the boogeyman that
The
doesn't exist.
boogeyman. Well, is it possible that the actual polio vaccine could cause some other polio-like symptoms?
Well,
Neurological decline?
the oral polio vaccine did that, and they still use the oral polio vaccine internationally. We stopped using the oral polio vaccine around, 2001, 2002, somewhere around there, because they would give the drops underneath the tongue, it would pass through the intestinal tract, and then a mom or somebody, living downstream would get exposed to that virus that was in the diaper or in the stool downstream, and those were the last reported cases of polio in the US were from the oral polio vaccine that we do not use anymore. We haven't used that since, 23 years.
Yes. Well, I mean, and then on top of that, now those are just the old news. Now we're coming up with all the you said 32 just by 2 years old, 84 I think by 18 years of age. What are all of these other vaccines that they decided to inject people with?
Well, it started with in 1986 when Reagan signed into law the National Vaccine Childhood Injury Compensation Act in 1986, and then that gave the pharmaceutical industry complete liability for any vaccine, any and all vaccines that were on the pediatric schedule. So starting in 1991 started what I call the buildup of the schedule, and they started adding vaccines every couple of years. 1991 started with the hepatitis B at birth, the Hib vaccine at 2 months of age. Then they added in 2000 or in 1995, the chickenpox vaccine. In 2000 was the Prevnar vaccine, which started out as Prevnar 7. It's now, I believe, Prevnar 20, which is like getting 20 vaccines at the same time from that one shot.
Whew.
Then they added hepatitis A. In 2006, they added Gardasil. In 2008 or 9, they expanded Gardasil to also include little boys. Um, and then they've added the COVID vaccine to children, which is an absolute crime against humanity. And there's probably a couple that I forgot in there. The polio vaccine's been around since the 50s. The MMR's been around since 1963. Um, um, Hepatitis A was about 2000, maybe a little bit 2004 maybe. But when you think about it, back in the day before I started doing all this research 25 almost 25 years ago, I thought that the only thing that was in a vial of vaccine was a little killed or attenuated or dead virus or bacteria or parts of bacteria and sterile water. I mean, what can it hurt? We were taught in medical school that they inject this into your body to stimulate your body to create antibodies against that antigen. So, if on the outside chance you might run into that virus or bacteria out there in nature, you've got antibodies that will protect you. Which that entire thing that what I just said, every element of what I just said is a lie. Every element.
Mm.
So, I mean, it's first of all, what's in the vaccine is a laundry list of chemicals. In addition to that, excuse me, attenuated virus or a bit of bacteria. There's a laundry list of chemicals, including aluminum and mercury. Um, you develop an antibody that doesn't they call them protective antibodies, but there are many, many, many reported cases of people that are fully vaccinated, have what they consider to be a protective level of antibodies, and contract the entire infection anyways. And that's even true of tetanus.
So I've been teaching 20 years of detoxification. Like if you're not detoxing in the 21st century, you're missing a huge piece of your healthcare plan. And I constantly go back to guys. I'm sorry, you need to be detoxed. Your air filters need to be changed. Tires need to be rotated. Your engine needs an oil change. Your body does too. And earlier, we had talked about like your body protects you through storing these toxins in fat cells and brain tissue and joints, soft tissues to protect you. But yet you still need to enroll yourself in a detox. What are some practical ways that people could learn to detox? And I'm going to just set you up here because I happen to bring on with me my little I didn't open it yet because I wanted to talk to you about it. From the Touchstone Essentials, the fulvic minerals, and then the detox spray, and and even the Pure Body, everyday gut body detox. And what are some practical things that people, because they got to get this idea that they must enroll in this idea of detoxification and trusting products and doctors to lead them forward. What can we give these folks to help them understand? Because if the last 20 minutes wasn't enough, then to your point, they're living under a rock. But now we're going to talk to the people that go, okay, I know I'm essentially screwed. Now, how do I get unscrewed and back on the track of wellness, right? Like, how do we fix this?
Well, I think that you mentioned the Pure Body Extra from Touchstone. We've been an advocate of that product for going on 5 years now because it really works, and the testimonials that we get from it are just
You
outstanding.
talking about the detox spray?
Yes, the
Yeah.
detox spray, because it is a particular type of zeolite that binds, metals and binds persistent organic pollutant chemicals that are in your system. And I don't know if you remember when you were a kid, but there was a game that was called like a Chinese finger game that
Yeah.
you would put the little basket on and then you couldn't pull your finger out of the basket.
Chinese handcuffs.
Yes, those little Chinese finger toys. That's how I sort of visualize how the zeolite that is manufactured and put in this particular product scoops up, environmental toxins and metals and things that we're exposed to and grabs hold of it and doesn't let go of it until it gets, put out through your stool or your urine.
Wow.
So, it's just like a running a cloth through your system, and it's
Soaking
something
up
that
what you can.
it's a little I have mine down here, it's a little spray, and you put it underneath your tongue, and, and you can use it in pregnant women, you can use it in babies. I put a few squirts of it every day into my dog's water because my dog is exposed to chemicals too. He goes outside and he's a little dog, he's only 10 pounds, and he's got a flat nose, and so he's sniffing everything that's on the ground, so he's getting exposed to chemicals and stuff. So I wanna detox him too, and it's so simple, and it has no flavor, and it just goes through and cleans out your system. The fulvic minerals in the gut detox, grab hold of things that come in through food, and so, um, the difference between the zeolite spray and and like bentonite clay and activated charcoal and things like that is that the activated charcoal and the bentonite clay certainly have their place. They bind toxicities that are in your gut, and then they go out through your stool, but they're not absorbed systemically, so they don't take things out of your bloodstream, whereas, like, the Pure Body Extra is a spray that's absorbed into your system by spraying it underneath your tongue, and it goes into your system and cleans it out that way. So, I think the analogy that you gave is just great when you said, we take better care of our cars than we do our bodies. That we have to change the filter in our car, we change the filter in our furnace, we change the oil, so many miles, we rotate the tires, we take our cars, we get them washed and polished and buffed up. But what do we do to wash and buff up the toxicities that we run into in our body? If we fell in a mud puddle, we would go and take a shower and wash it off the outside, but what are we doing to wash that stuff away on the inside?
Hey, almost sounds a little biblical. Jesus went around accusing the Pharisees of being whitewashed tombs. They look pretty on the outside, but they're dirty, nasty scoundrels on the inside. And I think
Exactly.
to the point, they needed some Pure Body Extra in order to to clean up their souls, man. But it's fascinating, and what I really want people to grasp hold of. I did not tell you I was going to be talking about Touchstone this morning, and you just pulled it up on your, right out you didn't have to run to your cupboard and dust off the bottle. That means you are
I
practicing.
spend a lot of time down here. This is in the basement. I have my studio set up down here
Yeah.
with light and all this stuff. And so it's real and I come down here every day, so it's right here for me to be able to take it every single day.
And it is something that people can use not only for themselves but for their pregnant moms, the people that are going through, I'm sure, medical treatments, their dogs, their cats, anything and everything is just proof in the pudding that we need to be detoxing and assisting the body, participating in the essential wellness game. And if you had just for the end of this segment of our show today, like if you had some words of wisdom to share with new people, veteran people, and people that are completely, lost, like what could you share with them in hopes that they would get a nugget of information today and apply it for that 1 degree of change in their healthcare?
Start small. You just start small. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. So pick something that you know you can do and you can do consistently. Don't try to do all the detox and all the supplements and go to the gym and work out and, cut, high fructose sugar out of your diet and change everything in your refrigerator all at once because that's not sustainable. We used to say it takes 21 days to change a habit. Ben Franklin said that, years ago. It takes 21 days to change a habit. They actually did. There's a book that I read a couple years ago. It's called The One Thing. And the premise of the book is what is the one thing that you can do right now consistently that will make a whole lot of other things irrelevant and unimportant. And inside of that book, they talk about that they've actually done studies and show that to really just change 1 degree, like what you said, just to change one thing, it takes 6 weeks.
That's
Six
awesome.
of dedicated, consistent effort. So I would say start small, pick one thing that you're going to give up, add, or change, and do that consistently until it becomes a habit. And then add the second thing and the second thing. The journey to being sick is a direct route and it doesn't take any effort at all to eat garbage and to get sick. But the journey to wellness is takes some work
One of
and
my
you have to.
mentors, Dr. John D'Onofrio, and his buddy, Dr. Joe Thomas, said that the difference between the winners and the losers is one more step. And one of my, spiritual coaches, her and her husband always say, we always do the next right thing. So it falls right in line, guys, that, when I talk about for the last, I'm on my 48th vegetable detox right now, and I do it every year, and sometimes twice a year, sometimes 4 times a year. But every time I've done it, I've learned that I like one new vegetable, and I'm always shocked. I'm like, what new vegetable might I embark on this time? And it happened to be collard greens of all things. Never liked collard greens. It looks nasty. I'm just not really like that strong flavor for whatever reason. 48 times detoxing. I love collard greens right now. But I find it fascinating that you're right. It is 1 degree of change and it is one next right step. And it doesn't have to be a hard 21-day detox. It could be as simple as the Pure Body Extra, and getting the Touchstone Essentials zeolite spray in the body regularly could be your one right next thing. And you know, I thank you for sharing that, because I think a lot of times we do hear all the things you just said to us, and then it's a little overwhelming. It's a little daunting.
It is overwhelming. You can't do it all at the same time because it's not sustainable. I mean, you could do all of it at the same time for maybe a week or 2,
Right.
but it's not sustainable. And what you're trying to do when you're trying to either get healthy or stay healthy, it has to be something that you do the right thing consistently long enough, and it has to be sustainable. And if you totally revamp your diet and you totally take suddenly you're gonna take 20 supplements a day, or you're gonna do D2 of the Touchstone products, you're gonna do Pure Body Extra and fulvic minerals and gut detox and glucose control and the green power drink, and you're not gonna do any of it.
It's right.
You're gonna order it, is the box is gonna sit on your counter. You may take one thing out, and then you look at the rest of it and go, "Oh my gosh, what do I do with all of this?" Don't do that. Start simple. Start with the Pure Body Extra. It's simple, you can do it. You sit it by your coffee pot, sit it on your computer, sit it next in your bathroom, next to where you brush your teeth, someplace that you're gonna consistently see it every day. Put it in your underwear drawer. You know, if you're gonna
Got
put
to
it
put your underwear on every day. Might as well take your
put
spray
it
every
in your
day.
underwear every day, just pick it up, take the spray, and go on about your life, right?
Well, I want to just say thank you. I want you to tell us real quick, one more time, the where did I write it down for your classes on the deep dives for people that want to go a little into this for themselves, to understand better vaccines, polio, because I know you got some great classes. Where can they go?
The easiest place to go is learning4u.org, which is learning the number 4 YOU.org, learning4u.org. There's a catalog up at the top of the page as soon as you go there, so you can. It's got a big drop down window. We have courses on money. We've had Lee Merritt has done courses for us on chlorine dioxide and on the power of pure water. We've done money courses. We've done all sorts of things on different things about health and wellness. And we've got a course that's coming up on the 25th of January on it's a webinar
Parasites.
on a webinar that we're doing called on parasitism. And parasitism is broader than just parasites when you think about these little critters that might come out of your stool. Parasitism also includes the mental, emotional, spiritual vampires that come into
Ooh.
your life and how to get those things out of your body because you just can't work on the physical. You've got to work on the mental, emotional, and spiritual portion too. So that's on when it's on Saturday, January 25th from 10 a to 1 p. Eastern Time. It's Dr. Jason Dean, who you know well.
Yep.
He's going to do a segment. Dr. Christian Northrup, Dr. Jeff Wolfman, who's in Florida and Costa Rica. He goes back and forth. And Lee Merritt is going to talk about parasites and cancer. And I'm going to be there as a moderator. And so the first 4 hours is gonna be presentation and a lot of great information, and then the last hour from 12 to 1 is gonna be the people that are there, open forum question and answer.
Well, what a tagline that is. And so, guys, on the Dr. Chopper Wellness Show, my goal, my heart, my desire is to inform, to educate, to bring awareness, to help people see that it is your life, it is your health, it is your choice for you and for the next generation. And people like Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, who has gone into the trenches, that says, buckle up, Buttercup. We got a wild ride ahead of us. I hope that you guys are okay knowing that you have people that you can stand on the shoulders of giants to fight the good fight of faith for your own health, for your own family blessing and your own generational line. And it just takes one next right step. So thank you guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed the show. Like, share, comment. Make sure you put this out everywhere that you can to your friends, family, and loved ones, because people like me and Dr. Tenpenny are in the trenches. We're wellness warriors taking blows on your behalf so that you can learn, grow, and develop, and you can across the globe share this data. So we're just so excited that y'all are with us, and we want you to continue to grow and be healthy and be shielded alongside us. And so may everybody be blessed today, and we'll see you guys next time on the Dr. Chapa Wellness Show.